Welcome to the Dr. Wyatt Marriage Podcast, where developing a long-lasting, happy relationship is the status symbol to achieve, and following my tools is one path to help get you there. I'm your host, Dr. Wyatt Fisher, a licensed psychologist specializing in couples therapy. If you have resentments and you're feeling stuck, you're feeling hopeless, go through my ER Marriage Intensive. It's my most comprehensive resource I provide for couples to help them resolve their resentments and rekindle their love. To learn more, click the link in the show notes or go to my website and click on ER Marriage Intensive. So today I'm talking about why emotional intimacy is key to a strong relationship. But before I jump into that, someone called in and left a voicemail with a question they want me to respond to. So I'm going to play that voicemail first, and then I'm going to respond back to it, and then we'll get into the topic for the podcast today.
Recently attempted to do the reunite exercise. He had a roadblock, and he said he won't move forward the exercise until I name some progress he's made over the past couple of months regarding a behavior I've expressed a concern about. The behavior is when I talk about a concern related to him, about my needs, that's defensive, dismissive, and denies my experience. So there isn't any sort of acknowledgement. Basically, he tells me it's my problem and he's not part of it. So that's one thing. The second thing is I can't really think of an example of progress he's made. And it's not because I'm unwilling, but I just haven't seen any meaningful change or effort in the areas that I've brought up over the last several months. So I told him I'd like to continue with the exercise so we can both share and, try to reconnect and at least get to some sort of resolution. I don't know. He just keeps pulling me and digging in. He says he wants to follow the steps exactly. He won't continue the exercise. And if he does, it's just going to be going through the motions. I wanted to know what you recommend.
First of all, she is referring to the reunite tool. The reunite tool is the tool that I recommend couples use to talk through resentments. It's a tool that we help couples through when they go through the ER Marriage Intensive. The main thing with the reunite tool is it helps keep the conversation calm and constructive. I think of it as guardrails when you go bowling, where you put those guardrails down so the conversation doesn't go in the gutter, so that you can get further down that lane and hit more pins. That's what the reunite tool does for tender, intense conversations. It helps you get further down the lane so that you can experience more healing. That's the reunite tool. You can Google it to learn more. Reunite tool. First thing here is it's positive that your husband is open to talking about your resentment against him as long as you follow the reunite tool. That's positive. That's great to hear that he's at least open and that he wants to follow the reunite tool so well. But it does happen when you get to number one, which is you have to highlight the progress, exceptions to the rule, times when your partner did not do the very thing you're resentful about. It does go better when you can highlight some progress. However, it does happen when you can't think of any. And that's why it's a resentment. You can't think of where have they gotten better and how have they improved. And it sounds like your husband doesn't want to go forward with the reunite tool until you can find something positive. So if you can't find anything positive, one option is you could ask him. You could say, I'm not quite sure what the progress is, but maybe I've overlooked it. Can you tell me how you feel like you've gotten better on this one? So you could try that strategy and then see what he says. Or you could find something kind of related that is a positive, such as thank you for improving by being willing to do the reunite tool on this topic, because that's progress. That shows he's willing to listen and to go through this and hear a resentment that you have about him. So that in and of itself could be progress. Now, the other topics you're talking about where he's dismissing your experience and he's saying it's all about you and those things are not true. If that's his mindset and if that's how he's been responding to you, he may really struggle when it comes to the listener steps. Because when it comes to the listener steps within the reunite tool, the listener does have to own something with sincerity, but they're not responsible for owning everything. They have to find the kernel of truth in the complaint without any excuses that they are guilty of. So considering how he's made you feel beyond the reunite tool on this topic, he may struggle doing those listener steps. And if that occurs, if you guys keep getting stuck, you can reach out to me and I can connect you with one of my coaches, or you can go through ER, because this is what happens for a lot of couples. They learn about the reunite tool, but when you have strong resentments, it's very difficult to work through the reunite tool on your own. Most couples need to work through it with a professional 4 to 6 times before they get trained enough where they can start doing it on their own effectively. But my hat goes off to you that you're both trying and that he's willing to hear resentment. So that's definitely a positive step. So, why emotional intimacy is key to a strong relationship? That's what I'm going to be talking about today. Number one is, what is it? What is emotional intimacy? There's a lot of different definitions out there, but I define emotional intimacy as knowing your partner's inner world and they know yours. Knowing your partner's highs and lows and they know yours. And you stay updated on a regular basis because there's two levels of all of us. There's the outside, what you see me doing throughout the day and my behaviors, but there's also the inside. And the inside is what I'm feeling throughout the day. And that inside part is what a lot of couples never share. They don't discuss the inside part. They just share the outside part. And they'll say, "How was your day?" And they'll say, "Fine." Or they'll say, "Well, this is what I did today." But they don't share the inside part. So, emotional intimacy, to define it, is learning and hearing about your partner's inner world and them listening to your inner world on a regular basis. Number two, why it's important. Why is emotional intimacy even important? Why do we even care about emotional intimacy? Well, emotional intimacy is important for your relationship for at least three reasons. Number one, it's important because at least one of you in your relationship is probably that person's top need. It's a top thing they desire, a top thing they crave. If their top love language is emotional intimacy, that's very common. So that's one reason why it's important. A second reason it's important is because usually one partner needs emotional intimacy first before they're open to physical intimacy. So that's a second reason it's important because the person who craves and needs that emotional intimacy, that needs to be in place before they will open the door to the physical intimacy in the relationship. The third reason emotional intimacy is important is because sharing is good for your mental and physical health. When we get things out, we get them off our chest. We don't feel alone anymore in that struggle or in that problem or in that stress that we're facing. When we get support from our partner in particular, it has mental and physical health benefits. That's why it's recommended to journal because it's better out than in. That's why having close friendships has health benefits because we open up, we share, we don't feel alone. You are not wired to feel alone in your stress and in your pain points. You're wired to share that and to feel support because when you do, your mental and physical health tends to improve. Number three is, how do you nurture it? How do you nurture emotional intimacy? There's really two levels to nurturing it. The first level is you have to learn to become a better listener. So once a day, you want to get in the habit of asking your partner, what's been on your head and heart? What have been your highs and lows? You want to ask them. And then when they tell you, you want to respond with empathy. Empathy is what creates that support. Empathy creates that tenderness. Empathy says, I'm here for you. I get it. I'm seeing this through your lens. So when your partner is sharing about their day, they're sharing what struggles they went through, they're sharing what made them upset and what frustrated them, you need to respond with empathy. Some of my favorite phrases are, that sucks, no wonder you feel blank, that sounds blank. I can see how X would make you feel Y, or it makes sense that X would make you feel Y. Those are some of the top empathy phrases, and you just have to exercise the muscle of providing empathy. Now, I describe empathy in two levels. Level one is you're just learning to provide it because it may not be natural to you. You're just learning to respond with empathy. That's level one. So in the beginning, it may feel a little robotic. And that's okay. Have grace toward yourself because it's new. It's a new way to respond to your partner. But over time, you want to move up to level two empathy. And that's when you really start putting yourself in your partner's shoes. That's when you really start seeing the situation they're describing from their lens. And that's where I describe empathy as a math problem, where you're listening to not just the words coming out of your partner's mouth, but also you're remembering, who is this person? What have they been through? What is their scar tissue? And when you're mindful of those two variables, you start connecting the dots in your mind. And that's when empathy becomes a math problem because you're seeing it from their lens. For example, let's say your partner is sharing how they're really anxious because of a fight they had with a friend. And in your mind, you're thinking, what's the big deal? Why are they overreacting? But then you remember, growing up, they were alone a lot. They were isolated. And I know because of that, friendships are really important to them. So therefore, it does make sense that this is making them anxious because of their history. I just put myself in my partner's shoes. I just saw it from their lens, and now it does make sense to me why they're feeling anxious because of that conflict with their friend. I may not feel the same because I'm a different person, but that's irrelevant. What's relevant is I need to see it from their lens because then my empathy will become more authentic and sincere, and I can provide it no matter if I would feel the same thing or not. The second way to nurture emotional intimacy is learning how to share. A lot of us aren't very good at sharing. We don't open up. We don't self disclose. We hold things in. We keep it in. But to nurture emotional intimacy, you need to learn how to open up and share your feelings. And this is something I've had to work on in my own marriage because my wife, her top need is emotional intimacy. And she would say to me, I don't feel like we're very emotionally close. We don't talk. And I would say, what do you mean? We talk all the time. And I tell you what I do throughout the day all the time. And she said, I don't care as much about what you do. I care about what you feel throughout the day. And I had to really work at, and I still have to work at, identifying what have I been feeling through the day. The top four, to make it simple, are mad, sad, glad, or fear. Those are the big ones. So part of nurturing emotional intimacy is you have to learn how to become a better sharer. And you do that by taking a pre-step and thinking, what have I been feeling today? Was I mad? Was I sad? Was I glad? Did I have fear? Did I have all four of those, two of those? And then why was I feeling each of those emotions? When I can get in touch with myself and then I can share and become more vulnerable, that makes my wife feel more close to me. And so emotional intimacy is not just becoming a better listener, it's also becoming a better sharer. Number 4, mistakes to avoid. One mistake to avoid is fixing. When your partner shares their heart, what they're going through in life, their highs and their lows, if you respond with solutions, that's going to ruin emotional intimacy because they're going to pull back. They're going to feel like you're trying to fix them. And instead, in your mind, you have to think about, I'm not trying to fix the presenting problem. Now I'm trying to fix them feeling alone in their problem, and the way I fix that is through empathy. So one mistake to avoid is do not fix. Do not give them any solutions unless they ask you. If they say, what do you think I should do? Then green light. Another mistake to avoid is don't say, I understand how you feel. Because they may have a reaction and say, no, you don't. You're not in my shoes. So that's a high risk way to empathize, is saying, I understand. And a lot of people want to say, I understand when they're empathizing. Don't say that. Stick with those phrases I already gave you. Another thing to avoid is sharing a similar story about your experience. This is very common. You hear your partner sharing about something and you say, oh, I went through something like that. Let me tell you about it. But now I've just made the conversation about me. So while misery loves company, and while sometimes it is nice to know you're not alone, you want to not share your personal experience very often when you're listening to your partner vent about their day. You want to keep the focus primarily on them, what they're feeling, and keep it to a minimum with you sharing a similar experience. The last mistake to avoid is avoid two types of questions. The first type is questions that prompt problem solving, such as, so what are you going to do about it? Or what are your options? Or what do you think the next step is? If you start asking those kind of questions, first of all, they're not empathy. And second of all, that is you trying to solve it. That's you trying to fix it. And that's what's not allowed. The second kind of question to avoid is questions that pertain to your interest. So if your partner is sharing how stressed they are from the day, how much anxiety they had from the day, and you respond with, so is this going to impact you making dinner tonight? That's a mistake, obviously, because now you've just made it about you and how what they're going through is going to impact you, and that's going to make you seem self-absorbed. So that's another mistake to avoid. So to summarize why emotional intimacy is key to a strong relationship, we covered number 1, what it is, number 2, why it's important, number 3, how to nurture it, and then number 4, the top mistakes to avoid. If you'd like to learn all of my tools to build a healthy relationship, sign up for my Tools Marriage class. It's my most cost-effective resource I provide for couples. It's virtual, so you can join no matter where you live. It's once a week for 45 minutes live with me, where we go through one tool per week to help you build a healthy relationship. To learn more, click the link in the show notes or go to my website and click on Tools. If you found value in today's episode, be sure to click the 5 stars and leave a review, and share this episode with one other person, a friend, a family member that you think could benefit from it. If you have a question you want me to answer on the podcast, leave a voicemail at 303-578-0618. And remember, you're the only thing you can control. So focus on your part of the equation, how you can become a better spouse, and that's going to maximize the chances of your marriage getting better. Thanks for listening. Take care.